Well, good evening, y'all. Good afternoon. I guess I should say good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. And good afternoon. We got a special show today. This show that we're going to do today, I don't do this particular one often. It is called Into Your Reality. The name of this particular show is Into Your Reality. I've done it. Well, if you all follow me, you know we've done this show several times. I don't pull it up often. It's just when I have a special occasion, I'll pull it up. When I have a special person I want to talk to, I will pull it up and we'll get into this conversation. And we have a very special conversation that we want to have today. And you've seen this gentleman on the Morning Glow and a couple of the other broadcasts that we do here at DKM Media Group. And I wanted to take an opportunity and talk to him today and give him an opportunity to explain to you who he is, a little bit about himself. And we're gonna go if it's okay with him. This is Badger, and we're going to go into your reality. Is that okay?
That sounds good to me.
Good deal. Good deal. So, first, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Badger. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself. We're gonna get into the line of questions that we're going to have. I see you got somebody over your shoulder there.
Yeah, he's getting more and more wanting to being on camera, but he's in a mood today.
Oh, okay. So, Badger, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Before, like I said, before we get the conversation started, introduce yourself to everybody.
My name is Wade Cole. Pretty much everyone that knows me calls me Badger. Um, I am a half blood. I am part Native American, Cherokee tribe. Um, and I also have Irish and I believe it's Irish and Scott and possibly Welsh heritage as well, as far as we know.
Okay. What 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 situation? Because there's a lot of different elements there. What situation actually comes out the most? And
What do you mean situation?
because you say you say you're Irish, you're Native American, and a couple others that you said. Which one shows up the most in Badger?
I would say the native roots,
Okay,
the Aboriginal roots,
and why is that?
because it's what feels right to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's called to me in all my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much learning to live a natural way of life.
Okay. Okay. So that's the one you mostly associate with.
Yes.
Good deal. Good deal. Um, the name. Let's before we get into the question. We got a few questions we're gonna ask you now, and I want you to be as transparent as you can with me. And I know that you will. But let's talk about the name Badger. Where did the name come from?
There was a group of people down in Houston, Texas. You
Mm-hmm.
know, some of them meant it as a joke. Others thought I represented the animal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some of it's due to tenacity.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it is keeping knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I'm usually solitary for the most part, but I do work with others as to the best of my ability.
Mm-hmm.
But I will also bark or growl. Like I don't know if anyone's ever seen how a badger interacts with other animals when they're working with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but they do have they will you know use their attitude to get a point across.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's done so that way both animals will be able to get food. You know, there's always a purpose behind the attitude.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, so it's a mixture of quite a few things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of other names that I've also been called, but I
Keep
don't
it clean.
really.
Keep it clean, Badger.
Oh no, no, that's nothing bad like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but a lot of times, most of our names, other than the ones our parents give us, our nicknames or other things like that, a lot of times is a representation of how people view us.
Mm-hmm.
So it sometimes you have a family name or you're given a name by the people,
Mm-hmm.
and Badger's one of the names that I had the honor to do my best. Uh, It's a name I do my best to honor
Mm-hmm.
due to what the Badger stands for.
Okay. So let me ask you this question, and I understand that part of it, but what is it about the name Badger? I'm making sure that everything is up and running here. But what is it about the Badger name that made you want to say, okay, I can live up to that, I honor that, and I appreciate that? What is it about that particular name that made you say that? Because people could call people for all their kind of different names, but if you don't answer that name, then it doesn't stick, if you will. So what is it about that name, that animal, that being, that made you say, okay, I can go with this?
Give me one moment. It'd be better if I read it word for word.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so there's a book called Animal Speak.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That gives kind of a generic, different tribes have different meanings of what it stands for. But like one of the keynotes, bold self-expression and reliance, and a keeper of stories. Um, the jaws are the symbols of powerful expression. This ties the badger to the mysteries of the word, particularly the magic of storytelling. That is what felt the closest to me because I'm very much into history, different beliefs um, that make up uh, the different people of the world
Mm-hmm.
because the beliefs guide people to live the way that they live.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of illusions and different things through a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like I always found it fascinating. The one thing I wish I was that I continue to work at is learning to do stories verbatim, so I can say word for word a story.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, a lot of what I share, I recommend certain books that have the stories in them, so people can read it verbatim,
Okay.
so they can learn what they could learn from it, or they might not learn anything at all. It's up
Mm-hmm.
to the individual.
Okay. So, Badger, we've been talking and we've been knowing each other going on a minute now, and you see that your history. There's a lot of things about your history um, that people don't know or understand. And if you get into it, it will probably freak them out. Badger, can we go into your reality?
Sure.
Who were you as a young boy? Who were you?
Oh man, really close to the way I am now. Um, the way I see the world hasn't changed much.
Mm-hmm.
What I experience now, that is a whole nother matter.
Mm-hmm.
The things I experienced when I was a child, I no longer experience now because I don't put myself in those situations anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, Go ahead.
No, 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 no. I was going to. I wanted you because you say some of the things that you experienced as a child. What are some of the things we're speaking of? What are some of those things?
Um, my mother was very abusive
Mhm.
and put me in many situations that I don't think any child should go through, to be honest.
Mhm.
Um, if you, I don't mind going into detail
Mhm.
on some of those things,
Yeah.
if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. This is into your reality. So yeah,
Um,
I want you to go as deep as you would like to go.
so I used to be grabbed by my right arm mainly
Mhm.
and chunked around, thrown around if I didn't obey what she said.
Mhm.
Um, she's put a knife through my hand for reaching for a cookie before
Mm.
because she said no. Um, she used to put alcohol in my bottle to make me go to sleep.
Mm.
Um, and that was, at a young age,
Mhm.
before things got really interesting.
Mhm.
That was all before my sister was born. Um, to her, my perception was I was her slave. I
Mhm.
was to do whatever she wanted.
Mhm.
Um, by the age of 8, I've already been in at least one fight with an adult. where I had to defend myself and defend her. Um, Unfortunately, that survival instinct kicks in, and
Mm-hmm.
you'd be surprised at what a person can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and fortunately, after I was born from a hospital, you know, on the way home for the first time, there was a car accident before I ever made it home for the first time, and I was chunked out of a car,
Mm-hmm.
and the back of my head hit the road, and I ended up with a flat spot.
Mm.
And some of the doctors now, that's gave me testing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it caused some kind of brain trauma that
Mm-hmm.
also affected the way I process certain types of information,
Mm-hmm.
which was a blessing in some ways, but also it hindered a lot of other things. So growing up, speech was probably one of the hardest things for me. I was very behind in speech.
Okay.
I had a really high reading comprehension at a young age,
Mm-hmm.
which didn't make sense, but I couldn't speak worth a darn.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Um, so I was in speech classes through most of my elementary school years, to learn how to pronounce certain consonants and vowels and words and things of
How
that
did you
nature.
how did you feel about that being in those classes?
A lot of people treated me very different and bullied me.
Mm-hmm.
It got to a point where my dad said if I come home with another ripped shirt, he was going to whip me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the next person that grabbed my shirt because I didn't want to get whipped by my daddy, the inner me came out, and I got taken to the principal's office because I hurt the boy pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My dad went up there and said, well, he wouldn't have had to hurt him if y'all would have listened to him in the first place about these kids bullying him and tearing up his clothes because you're not the ones having to pay to replace them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I very much grew up, defending myself and doing my best to defend other people that weren't so good at defending themselves.
Okay. Okay. So
Um, Go ahead.
you became the person that actually looked out for the less fortunates.
Yeah,
Hmm.
which always got me in trouble with big groups of people.
But that's also a heck of a responsibility. How did you at that young age take on that responsibility?
I'd step in the middle of fights. I would challenge adults.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I got hurt quite a few times. Fortunately, I didn't get no broken bones, but there's probably scar tissue all throughout my body,
Mm-hmm.
from being thrown around, kicked, and hit, and beat up with 2x4s and all kinds of stuff. I feel very blessed. I don't have as many broken bones, and the amount of scars I probably should have
Mm-hmm.
is a whole nother story.
Wow.
Um, I got, I had to protect my sister when my mom would take us over to places where there were men so she could cheat on my dad with them.
Mm.
And a couple of times, I remember a time when she left me and my sister in this red Jeep Cherokee while she went and bent over behind a peach tree
Mm.
because she spent all my dad's money and she said she was doing it for a loaf of bread because my dad didn't make enough money.
Mm. Wow.
Um, and then as my sister was born and got older, it was I had to learn how to cook for
Mm-hmm.
her. I had to learn how to protect her. If I didn't, she wouldn't have got fed. She wouldn't have got a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that kind of stuff. So a lot of my childhood, I didn't get to have fun.
Yeah. You
You
didn't get a
know,
chance to be a child.
my mom had some friends come over from school,
Mm-hmm.
and it was snowing outside, and she threw boiling hot water on us because it we were too cold outside and we wanted to come inside, and
Mm.
she literally threw boiling water off of a stove at us to
Wow.
make us stay outside.
Mm. Why did she want you to stay outside?
Not sure. I've
Mhm.
asked her, and she's like, "Well, I don't remember that,"
Mm,
or "Well, because that's what I told you to do," would
mm.
be her response.
Now, I'm asking questions, and if you don't wanna answer some of these questions, that's fine as well.
Go ahead.
But were there any drugs involved?
Not that I know of.
Okay,
I
okay.
do know that as I got older, that she does have a couple of mental disorders.
Mhm. Okay.
Found out some of the things that her mother did to her
Mhm.
from my uncle. The only good uncle I had out of that family, because that family was full of crazy people. Um, and it gave me kind of an idea,
Mhm.
because I was really angry with her. So when I got a little bit older, I tried to forgive her.
Mhm.
A lot of people called her out on her stuff and things. I'm like, maybe she actually, she's learned. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
she's had the state take us away from her in the state of Texas. She CPS took us away from her
Mhm.
when I was sent down here because I wasn't behaving the way my dad wanted.
Mhm.
His punishment is I'm going to send you to my mom to your mom,
Mhm. Mm.
and it. She ended up getting someone to try to scare me and my sister into behaving and listening to her by pointing guns at us.
Mm.
Um, by that point, so I've been shot before.
Mhm.
Um, because I don't play those games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so it after all that happened, it what kind of mental disorder she has, the closest thing I can say is a sociopath,
Mhm.
but we're not entirely sure because she can miraculously go from speaking like she is one of those stereotypical hillbillies,
Mhm.
from the what's the name of that movie? Down where they're going down the river or something like that, and the banjos and all that.
Oh, okay. I hadn't seen that one.
I can't remember the name of the movie.
Mm.
Um, to like, and it's funny because my wife can even vouch for this. I had her on speakerphone and she's speaking perfectly grammatic English.
Mhm.
The moment she heard my wife,
Mhm.
she couldn't pronounce words all of a sudden.
Wow.
Just
Wow.
just in a snap of a second.
Mm. Why do you think that is? Why do you think she do that?
Control, manipulation,
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff.
Mm. Okay.
Because, I was one of a few people that as I got older, she couldn't trick anymore.
Mhm.
And she has sent people after me for not doing what she's wanted. So
Mm.
I've dealt with gang members and all kinds of stuff, and I earned a reputation,
Mhm.
that you know, I'm I'm not easily taken out.
Yeah.
I've survived a lot of stuff.
Mhm. Okay. Like the Phoenix.
No, I wouldn't say. Oh, I'm not going that far.
I got you. Now you said something about when you was talking about your T-shirt getting your dad said if you come home one more time and your T-shirt is ripped that he gonna whoop you. And you said somebody the next person that try to rip your shirt or grab your shirt or something like that, the inner you came out. You said the inner you came out. Now who is that inner you?
It's the one that takes no junk from nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a rage I have that terrifies me,
Mm-hmm.
and I know I'll have it for the rest of my life, but it
Mm-hmm.
only comes out when there are no other options.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I've never killed anyone, thankfully,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that rage is there,
How
and
how close have you come to it?
a couple of times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
Um,
looking back at it, how does that make you feel?
very depressed because I don't like hurting anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's a life or death situation, most of the time I'd rather me get hurt than the other person.
Mm-hmm. Is that the attribute of a badger?
Well, we are thick skinned, so honey badgers can get bit by a king cobra and just go to sleep and wake back up.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So I guess so.
Mhm. when you look back over the pages of your life, and someone would probably make you cry, which ones would make you smile and laugh the most?
The times with my grandma,
Mm.
sitting in the car with her, and
Hmm.
remembering there was this time my grandpa told her, you know, you can't. You're a woman. You can't drive.
Hmm. Hmm.
She did she did a 180 and parked the car. She just, "Meow," she said, and then turned around to me and went, "By the way, your dad and your uncle learned how to drive from me."
Wow.
And I just went, "Yes, ma'am."
Hmm.
You know, she was a very strong and powerful woman. You know,
Hmm.
did I heard stories of some of the bad decisions she made with raising my dad and stuff, but the way she was there for me,
Hmm.
n- nobody else was until I met my wife.
Yeah. Okay.
So it, like, other than those few memories and the times of hanging out with my sister and stuff, I don't have very many happy memories
Mm.
aside from just sitting out in nature and listening.
Okay. What are you listening for?
Creation,
What does it sound like?
nature.
Okay. How do you distinguish between one sound and the next? And
Ooh.
yeah, how do you distinguish?
To me, it's about frequency.
Hmm.
The different frequencies carry different vibes. You
Hmm.
can tell by how a bird makes a sound, or a dog, or a cat, if it's actually hurt, or if it's a warning, or if it's um, just a happy, joyful one.
Hmm.
And you start learning the frequencies that even human beings project when they're depending on what's going on.
Hmm.
You know, and it's kind of universal.
Hmm.
You can listen to the trees and know which ones are weak and which ones aren't.
Hmm.
And go ahead.
And you can hear all this from a sound.
Yeah.
You can recognize all this from a sound. Okay. Okay.
Is that not normal?
No, no. Um, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say it's not normal. I don't want to say that, but what I will say is, it takes some practice for an individual to get to that point.
Well,
Um,
fellow other human beings didn't like being around me.
mhm,
The only time they wanted to be around me was to use me for my strength or things I've learned.
mhm,
You know, Having adults come up to me telling me about their love life and stuff because they don't know what to do.
mhm,
And you know, I I remember being, in elementary school, having a spiritual conversation with a teacher
mhm,
about looking within to, to figure out why she's having the trouble that she's having in her life.
mhm.
Why and how, I couldn't tell you, other than creation being involved.
Okay. Now you said about creation. We're about to turn a corner here. Spirituality.
Yeah.
What do you feel about spirituality?
Well, where else that we're all part of spirit,
Mhm,
and the individual this are make personal choices of how they approach spirit and how they get closer to it.
mhm, mhm. Okay. And how do you get close to it?
I go to my church outside.
Okay. What's the name of the church outside on the hill? Baptist Church.
No,
What's the name of
it's just nature.
it? Okay.
There is no label for. I don't do labels.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay.
Most of the labels I speak, is because of what I learned from other people.
Mhm. Okay. How do you know the spirit that you're speaking of is real?
It just is.
Okay. I'm an alien from another country. I have no knowledge of what's going on here. Explain to me the spirit that you're talking about. Explain it to me. Make me understand it.
Well, I can't make you do anything.
Hmm. Give me a clear vision.
I would just probably take you out in the backyard and we'd just sit there around a fire and I'd probably say, listen,
Mm, okay. What am I listening for? I'm listening, but I don't hear anything. What exactly am I listening for?
are you not able to hear the wind?
I Yeah, I heard a wind, but is it speaking? Is it saying something to me, or is it just a sound that it's making?
Well, how does it make you feel?
Mm. I'm out for debate on that one. I'm at to figure that one out because I
Oh,
never thought of it in that way. So I'm at to figure that one out.
well,
I'm an
well, when
alien
you,
from another country now.
no, I understand that. When you
Mhm.
look at the fire, how does that make you feel?
Hot. I feel the heat, um, coming off of the fire. I see the sparkles that's coming off of the fire. I see the fire itself, but the way it make me feel, hot.
Well, are you too close?
I may be like a moth to a flame burned by the fire, right?
Oh. So if you're possibly too close to it, then
Back up. Oh, something just happened. Something just happened. What just happened?
okay. I'm sorry. Say that again.
Something just happened. What just happened?
What do you mean just happened?
I saw you look at the screen, and it was a quick reaction from you. Something just happened.
Oh, someone posted in Facebook and asked a question. I was responding to be
Okay.
nice.
Okay.
Um,
Now,
so
you spoke about a couple of times through the conversation. We're gonna jump a couple of places. You spoke a couple of times about your mom. You spoke about your sister, your grandmother, and your uncle. Who else is it that had an influence on Badger?
hmm, and actually having to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
With as far as my grandpa goes, he'd be up early every morning digging for worms,
Mm-hmm.
making breakfast. He'd make huge breakfast every morning, and then we'd go out fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd be wherever he wanted to be fishing just as the sun rose.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's good.
Um, um, it's trying to think who else. My stepmom, in some ways, taught me that there were good women out there.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe that?
Yes, I married one.
Mm-hmm. Good. Mm-hmm.
She didn't give me a choice, but I married one. Um, it got her to laugh.
Look at you'll pay for that comment later.
Nah. Um, and if we go recent, it would be my wife and my kids.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Um, they've taught me a lot about accepting that the way I can be is
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because what they see and what they experience with me, pretty much nobody else does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Badger, let me ask you a question. When you cry, Badger, what's in your tears?
That is a man. What's in the tears when I cry? Honestly, most of the time when I actually do cry, it's feeling like a failure that I haven't done enough.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I'm always pushing. I want to do more for this world. I want to do more for my family. I want to do more for my wife.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do more for the people that are around me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm very. I don't really. I don't think I've ever cried for myself.
Mm.
I've always, when I cry, usually it's about other people or me not being able to do certain things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there any joy in your tears?
I think I've only experienced that kind of crying with my wife and kids.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What is the difference in the feelings?
Ooh, that I can't answer.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Being able to explain emotions or properly recognize them is a constant struggle for me.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what I'm explaining as far as the tears and stuff is me talking with my wife and her helping me to understand where they're coming from.
Okay. How well does Badger? How well does Badger know Wade?
Mm. Too well, unfortunately. That's what gets me in trouble.
Okay, and vice versa. How much does Wade know Badger?
Probably more than Badger knows Badger.
Mm. Where's your peace, brother?
Being Wade,
Mm-hmm. There's no peace in Badger.
not really.
So is he total destruction?
No.
Okay. So there is a peace there.
I would say depression,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
sadness,
Mm-hmm.
not feeling tough enough.
Badger is in an absolute rage. How does Wade calm him down?
Just remind them of my wife and kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've never known really anyone that's been able to take me out of rages since my grandma, and my wife and kids can do it in a heartbeat.
Okay. If someone was to tell you to give the definition of love, we want Badger and Wade to give the definition of love. How much of that definition would have your wife's face painted all over it?
A quarter of it.
Hmm. Okay. And the
And
other,
then
go ahead.
2 quarters of it would be my boys.
Hmm.
And the other quarter of it would be creation.
Okay. When you look in the mirror, what is that love looking back at you? Is it depression? Is it rage? What is looking back at you?
All of the above.
Okay. If you looked in the mirror today, what would be looking back at you right
Some
now,
kind of
this moment? This
oh,
moment.
some kind of psycho.
Okay. Now, then you know the show is into your reality. So if you had to, if right now you had to go somewhere and play one song, you had to put one song on that's gonna make you smile and just put you in that mood where you find a joy. I'm not gonna necessarily say peace, but a joy. What song would that be?
A joy. Man, there's a lot of good songs.
Mm-hmm.
Moonlight Sonata.
Mm-hmm. And who sings that?
It's not a song. It's composed.
Okay. Okay. And who's the artist
Who's
behind
the original? Isn't it Beethoven? Beethoven did Moonlight, or was it Mozart? I think it's Beethoven.
Beethoven? Okay. Okay. Now I want you to do something for me. I want you to give me three things.
Okay.
Name me three things that the average person that come in contact with you would never understand about you.
Oh, mm,
Come on. Come on.
oh, the natural way I choose to live.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the way I see the world. Um, my personal truth.
Let's start right there. What is your personal truth?
That is for me.
Mm-hmm. Is nothing that you want to share?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Okay. We have a
Sharing my story has, based on the terminology of personal truth, is one
mm,
thing, but sharing 100% of where my heart lies, I feel is for me. And I feel that everyone has their individual
mm-hmm.
truth.
Mm-hmm. And that's true, but to understand Badger, to understand Wade, when you have to show the person that truth.
I do it in how I live. If they're
Mm-hmm.
not able to see it through my actions,
Mm-hmm.
then the words will never be able to explain it.
But how beautiful would it be if the words and the actions lined up and they was exposed to both of them?
Well, if words could truly express true truth,
Mm-hmm.
then what would be the point of actions at all?
But if your actions were not always on point, if you act out on a particular day, and if and you had those words, a person could depend on those words that would actually say something other than what you're doing at that day. Because people get angry, people have emotions, and from those emotions, you might not be at your best by your actions. So that's where the words would come in and fill the void. Would you agree?
No.
I knew you wasn't. Got a question for you from Facebook. Let you read it yourself. Read that question. Read and answer that question for me. Read it out loud for me if you don't mind.
How much of his native reality does he feel relates to the black experience? Man, how to answer that question? Because I don't know all of my heritage,
Mm-hmm.
I can only speak for what I know of my ancestors
Mm-hmm.
and what the story of my family that's been passed down to me is.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot of genocide. There's a lot of the beliefs that they honestly have done their best to attempt to kill.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a lot of it is a very peaceful way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, as far as a black experience, I can't even try or attempt to say if it relates or not because I have not walked in those shoes. So it would be wrong for me to assume if it relates or doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All I can look at is what I know of the history, it's not only been that are in books, but it's also what's been passed down to me
Mm-hmm.
of the genocide
Mm-hmm.
and the beliefs that were taken from my Celtic and Aboriginal European side of my heritage,
Mm-hmm.
because that's all I am aware of at the moment.
Okay. Let me ask you this question, and I'm glad you went there. How much of your Native American side have a dislike of the Caucasian side and what they've done throughout history to them?
Well, the ones that I know that walk the path won't say that it's white's fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mentality, it's a thought process, because, you know, some of the experiences, it was, you have to think, if you go all the way back, before the government got involved, there was the people that came over, and they used religion as a way of, you know, discrediting or claiming them to be evil or bad, or,
Mm-hmm.
they also had weapons that we didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's that is a matter of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it wasn't as much government as it was religion, the people in power.
Mm-hmm.
And most of them weren't white people. They were Spaniards. They were different colors of skin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, if I were to ask about some of the experiences, like a lot of people, a lot of time they talk about the blankets that was given to the Native Americans and with the
That's
small,
who I think it is.
huh? With the smallpox and things of that nature, tied into it. What would they say about those individuals? Because it was the individuals that did that performed this act. What would they say about those individuals that performed that act and injected them with the smallpox?
Oh, one of the stories that got passed on to me was they were really mad about it, and they went to creation
Mm-hmm.
and um, asked creation what did they do wrong. And the story goes is that that tribe will have no live enemies,
Mm-hmm.
and due to certain things, it's really hard to say that that's not a true statement.
Mm-hmm. Got you another question here from Facebook. There you go. What do you say to that? Want to read it for the audience?
Some of those words I'm not able to pronounce.
Okay.
Why does that name sound look so familiar?
The name?
Yeah.
It's just a Facebook user.
Oh, I can see it.
Mm-hmm. You can see the name.
Yeah.
What's the name?
I'm on. I have Facebook pulled up.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there were times when they would take um, prisoners, but they were also sometimes, either depending on how things went, they were either released, traded for, or brought into the tribe.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't the same kind of mentality versus what has been used by certain other places
Mm-hmm.
or people.
Exactly. Now
Oh man, okay. I thought that's why I knew that name. I thought so.
you figured it out. I know the name too. I know it, but I ain't. But I just pulled up Facebook. I pulled up Facebook and I saw who it was as well. But let me religion. How much of religion is a handicap for people?
I'm gonna get shot. I think religion is 100% bad for people
Why do you say that?
because when it goes from being a spiritual belief
Mm-hmm.
to a usage of power, and to me that's my perception of a difference between being spiritual and being religious. You know,
Mm-hmm.
religious is showing God how good you are, spirituality is showing everyone else how good God is.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so to me, religion is ego.
Mm-hmm.
They've eased God out of the equation because they want power. They want to be able to control people. They want to be able to um, make them think what they want them to.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Would you ever be religious?
No,
Why not?
it's not part of who I am.
Okay. But you do have a spirituality.
hmm
Okay. And that's better.
I'm not going to say it's better or wrong. Everything serves a purpose.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. What do
I
you
just
think?
know what doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. What do you think about a person that say they're very religious and they try to and you kind of answered the question before, but I'm gonna go a little deeper. And they try to place their religion on you.
Oh, that's happened a lot. And then I end up talking to them and we end up discussing things. And then they want me to come to their church and talk. And I go, no, thank you.
Mhm. Well, maybe you could share something with the congregation that would help them.
Mm, if it feels right, sure. If it doesn't, I'm not doing it.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you a question right now, and we only got we got what we got about 11 more minutes. Um, this question might get us both in trouble, but I'm gonna ask the question anyway because I'm the question asker. Who is Jesus to you?
It's the story of a man. We're not even going to attempt to say he existed or didn't because none of us lived back then.
Hmm.
So that's history. What does the way that's displayed of how he did his best to live his life and how connected he was to creation, of being able to use the things that were around or to serve as a vessel for creation to heal someone,
Mm-hmm.
speaks loudly to a lot of the old teachings that certain people didn't want to stay around.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted it to die
Mm-hmm.
because that kind of thought process is goes very much against sheeple mentality.
Hmm. How do you feel about the stories of the Bible?
Some of them I don't care for.
Hmm. Okay.
Um,
If
some of
you
them I think can teach lessons.
okay, if you were to name one or two of them that you don't really care for, which one would that be?
Hmm. I'd have to go back and look.
Hmm. Hmm. How do you feel about the story of Adam and Eve?
Oh, I don't like that.
Hmm.
Too many people have took it out of context and have blamed women for what's going on now, and I am very much against that thought process.
Hmm. You are, and I've realized this about you. You are a very huge advocate for women and women rights. Why so much?
Because women are treated like trash, and it drives me up the wall because we wouldn't be here without them. And a
Hmm.
good woman can have an entire community back them up in a heartbeat.
Hmm.
Because she doesn't just take care of her household, she ends up taking care of all the ones that are around her too.
Hmm.
Because she's so pure and just being a mom or grandmother. You
Hmm.
know, I'm very fortunate that my wife, a lot of kids just flock to her. She
Hmm.
reminds me of those grandmothers that I had the privilege to be around growing up.
There you go.
So she's over there smiling
Hmm.
because and so it's the fact that even when I've talked to women about some women about it, they don't know how special they are. They're focused on makeup and what to wear to impress some guy down the road. And I'm like, why? That
Mm-hmm.
makes no sense. You're a strong and beautiful, powerful woman.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean strong and powerful? Like, we can't, men can't be here without you,
Yeah.
period. It don't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, well, it's our fault you know, for the way the world's being right now. No, no, it's not. I'm like, have become ego, prideful, and greedy,
Mm-hmm.
and have been trying to talk down to you and all this other stuff. Everyone calls it a man's world and everything else, and they're not. But when you boil it down to it, a good man will say their woman runs the house. It's a 100-100 relationship. I respect what she says.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because most of the time when we make a decision, it can be um what's a word?
Borderline,
Random.
borderline dum dum.
Yeah, there we go. That'll work. And they make that comment. Are you sure you want to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They're not calling you an idiot. You're not calling you stupid, but they
Mm-hmm.
make that comment that makes you go,
Let me think about that.
yeah, hold on now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's insane how powerful their voices can be.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't acknowledge it. People don't let them know that they can be that powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really depressing to me that that kind of teaching isn't around like it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And most of what I've heard from most other people is it's because of how that story of Adam and Eve has been taught.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I got two other questions, and when I do stuff like this, I never have anything written down. It's just I let the flow. But first question, I want you to explain again. I am an alien from another country. I want you to take it from that aspect. And somewhere I heard somebody say something about racist. What is a racist?
See, that's where we get into an interesting topic, because I'm having to learn how other people use it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have to go from this point of view. My perception of a racist is someone that hates someone, or someone that dislikes or possibly hates someone else for
Mm-hmm.
either believing or looking or anything of that nature,
Mm-hmm.
just because they're different.
Okay. 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 How do you feel about a person that's racist?
Some have a reason to be,
Mm-hmm.
and until they, experience something that shows them that not all people of that kind are that way. And there are certain races I've know that will say, yes, I am racist toward this group of people. However, I know that not all of them are that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, so are you racist toward the color of people, or
Mm-hmm.
are you racist toward the behaviors they're displaying?
Mm-hmm.
Y-
Good question.
and most of the time it's the way they behave.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are the ones that just don't like people because of their color, and that
Mm-hmm.
makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
I don't associate with them. And if they try to speak about it around me, I'll ask them a question like I asked, and if they tell me that it's because of their color, I'm like, well, if that's the case, then me and you ain't going to be able to talk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, if it's the other one, we might end up having a conversation because maybe my views is something that might help him figure out their truth or their perception. So it could be something that's helpful for them because I asked a question. So,
Like going to the church, speaking in the church, right? You might be able to change their mind and change their
yeah, that ain't nope.
perspective. What
I-
is explain to me, Badger? We at 11, so we might be getting out of here in just a few minutes. But I want to know this right here. How beautiful to you, to Badger, is the innocence of a child?
I would severely damage an individual
Mm, mm,
because I think a lot of us adults need to be learning from our children
mm-hmm,
because they still remember what it means to be connected.
mm-hmm,
They lose it as they get older. The fact of the, certain teachings condemning them, saying that they're born with sin,
mm-hmm.
drives me up the wall.
Yeah. So children.
Because I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some children that make me question it sometimes. But, with my boys and other kids I know, they don't see color. They don't know that
Mm-hmm,
that's not okay. They don't know that walking up to a stranger isn't okay because
mm-hmm,
it's innocent. It's all people.
mm-hmm,
We're having to teach them stranger danger because there are bad people out there that would take
mm-hmm.
advantage of that and hurt them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're having to teach them those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm,
So I'm having a hard time with my oldest son because he's starting to ask and he's starting to notice why people treat other people different, and it's really hard to explain it to him
mm-hmm,
because it's a concept that we don't practice in this house.
mm-hmm,
So trying to explain something to him that he only sees maybe on a TV show or maybe when he's at Walmart or
mm-hmm.
it's really difficult
Yeah. Yeah.
because he's very open-minded and community oriented like I am.
Mm-hmm,
So it's community's natural for him,
mm-hmm.
and that's go ahead.
No, no, no. I was just gonna say, man, I can't think of too many things that's more beautiful. That's more beautiful than the innocence of a child, man. That's just and that's why a lot of times, and even biblical, Jesus would go and he'll sit amongst the children because they had such an innocence about themselves that the adults, y'all go over there, y'all trying to kill each other, y'all arguing and fussing and fighting and all, but the children they just want to enjoy. They just want to have it. There's an innocence about children that is man, look here, I beat up a brick and put a rock in the hospital, man. If somebody mess with a child around me. I beat up a brick and put a brick. I beat up a rock and put a brick in the hospital because they're so innocent, man.
I
They're so.
got fired from a job because I put hands on an adult for
Mm-hmm,
throwing his kid around in a store I was working at.
mm-hmm,
And the only reason I didn't go to jail that night for violent behavior is because the manager and the police officer that showed up knew who I was
mm-hmm,
and went, "Oh, yeah, no, we're not putting him in
mm-hmm.
jail."
Yeah.
Because for him to act the way he did, they
Mm-hmm.
went straight to that guy and went, "What did you do?"
Yeah.
And then they
Yeah.
went to the cameras and saw him grab this young girl
Mm-hmm.
and chunk her and slit her across the floor inside this
Mm-hmm.
convenience. I came up over that counter
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was
and
a different day. It was a different day.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I watch a lot of that stuff now. I try to do things secretively
Mm-hmm.
because of the way some people are.
Yeah.
But I'm also cautious
Mm-hmm.
because some of these systems that are supposed to be helping kids, you got to find the right ones
Yeah.
in that system that will actually help them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good deal. Well, Badger, it is now 4:15, man. You done hung out with me for an hour. I hope I hope I wasn't bad to you, man. I treated you
Oh
good,
no,
right?
yeah,
Okay. Yep. We probably there's a lot of other layers that we need to cover. And so we probably need to do a part two of Into Your Reality with Badger. We probably
yeah. I
need.
know we didn't even cover the trauma stuff yet.
And exactly, exactly. And so that's why, I wanted to, what I wanted to do with this one right here is just introduce it because a lot of people they see you on the broadcast and they say, "Where this fella come from? We don't know him." And so now they have I think a better understanding about basically who you are on the surface. But now next time we'll go a little deeper. We'll go a little deeper and talk about some of the things that has happened and some of the experiences that you've had. We've spoken about a few of them, and I think people need to kind of know that as well. And then they have a deeper and even a clearer, more clearer understanding
And hopefully they also learn that, yeah, I experienced a lot of bad things in my life,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sitting here being a positive adult,
Mm-hmm. Come on. Mm-hmm.
still being willing to help people and all this other stuff, no matter how much my complex PTSD is triggered, my anxiety, or any of that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still being brave enough to even be on this radio podcast.
Exactly. Exactly.
I also think that if I didn't show up, I'd get a lot of phone calls and messages going, "Get on here now."
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm looking at your name is Wade and Badger. That you like that AD together, don't
I never thought of that.
you? Mm-hmm. You like that AD together. I pay attention to everything, man. I pay attention to everything. I'm weird like that. But yeah, now you're looking at it. And now
And now I'm looking at it.
yeah, exactly. Well, listen, this has been a great broadcast. I want to thank everybody for joining us. And more than that, I want to thank you for allowing. I see. I don't say this name often, so I got to get it into my thing. So I want to thank you for allowing into your reality. I don't say that often, man. I don't do this show often to be a part of your day. I want to thank Badger Wade for actually giving us this opportunity to talk to him. We are going to do, if I can get him to agree upon it, we will do a part two. We definitely will do a part two, and from that part two, we'll go just a little bit deeper. Deep brother here, real deep brother, man, and has endured a lot, but still he stand. But still he stand, regardless of all the stuff that he's been through. And you all would hear about some of the things that he's been through in his past, some of the situations that he had to endure. But still he stand, and he's doing a great job. A family man, husband, father, preacher.
Don't even call me that.
I knew I'd get a spark up when I said that right there. But listen, we would definitely do a part two. It is now 4:18.
I,
You're about to yeah. You want to say something, Badger?
yeah, I want to thank y'all for the privilege to even share it or letting me know that people are actually curious about my story. A lot of people are getting to where they're wanting me to open up and share my experiences and
Hmm.
stuff.
That's good.
Not entirely sure why still, but I want to thank y'all for the privilege to share my story, and I hope it helps somebody.
Absolutely, amen. It's an honor for us to have you, brother. Keep doing what you're doing. All right, you know we got you. We got you. We got you, man. It is now 4:19. You're about to exit into your reality. But before you go, I want you to do me two favors, if you will. One, I want you to continue to pray for us because we're certainly praying for each and every one of you. Number two, why this is real simple. I want you to go out there, find somebody, and give them a hug because you never know. It could be the only hug that they get, or it could very well be their last. Now, we share some of this light of you from into your reality. Take it out there into this wicked and cruel world that we live in and let your light so shine. You all have a great day. Take an opportunity to love someone. You just might find some love in return. Take care. Love you.
Have a blessed one, y'all.
All right, you too now.